Hey there everyone, how you going? My name is Jason and I am super excited to be here for this first recording from my home studio. Thanks to IKEA for fitting me out with all the gear. So it's coming up to the end of the year. It's 2023, December the 24th, so Christmas Day tomorrow. There's all the family stuff going on, but in the back of my mind, I've got a lot of stuff ticking around about 2024 and getting prepared. How am I going to show up? Learning the lessons from 2023, reflecting on the year that's been. My year has been huge, massive. There's been so much incredible things happen this year, but also some huge emotional, big things. I separated from my wife. I separated from my business partner. I moved state, so I'm away from my children and started new contracts in the USA and living with my mum in Adelaide, which is interesting. So I've at age 52, it's been a big year. Coming back to Adelaide, which is my hometown. I normally, my family live in Avalon Beach in New South Wales, in Sydney, and pretty much coming with a backpack and coming to Adelaide to heal and to reflect and to, be able to ground myself again. So for me, it's been a massive year, and this channel is all about being authentic. I want to start being authentic right from the very beginning. And this is about leadership for a new era, and leadership for a new era starts with being true, with being authentic and real and practical and connected. So for me, it's about coming from the inside out and having my outer world reflect my inner world. And that's what I'm going to bring together in this forum, in this community, is a whole range of different topics that we're going to speak practically and real about in total authenticity. Well, I certainly hope to bring that at all times. Lots of different resources, lots of different subjects around leadership and growth. So I think it's more than just leadership. It's about growth, self-development, and self-awareness. So I am excited, but I'm also apprehensive as well. I feel a bit nervous around talking into some of these topics, because a lot of them are very close to the bone right now. So if this sounds like it's for you and you want to step into something that is probably going to touch some nerves sometimes and being outside the comfort zone, but all with the lens of growth, and we're going to do that together. It's not my hope to be positioning myself as the guru or, but to be someone who's going through it and who's willing to express the journey alongside you. So coming up to the start of this group, the P2 group, I wanted to, acknowledge some of the stuff that has happened for me personally in 2023, and that, that's shifted and made me who I am, and I wouldn't change a thing. There's been mistakes, there's been errors of judgment, and there has to be responsibility taken. And I'm now looking at 2024. And so I wanted to bring to you what I'm thinking for 2024, and maybe you want to join me on this little journey that I've decided. So I think New Year's is a great time to reflect. There's lots of different people who have different opinions around New Year's Eve being a time for, I'm going to stop this or I'm going to do that, or New Year's resolutions. And there's a lot of divided beliefs around whether it's a good thing, whether it's a bad thing. Personally, I think it's great having a time of year that that it's sort of set in stone, where you can go from that date, I'm going to do things a little bit differently. But it's probably the journey though, it's about really reflecting about what has worked for you, what it hasn't worked for you, what areas have you grown in and what areas haven't you grown in. And I like to use the term of showing up, like showing up in a certain way is that serving you or not serving you? And so, yeah, there's certainly quite a lot that I'm reflecting on. So the back end of my 2023, apart from some of the huge emotional challenges and things that I had to go through, there's also the business stuff and what I was working in the USA, so I was working at crazy times of the morning, 2 a.m. in the morning through to 10 a.m. in the morning. Then I would start my charity work. So I would do another full day, to sometimes doing, like an average of like 12 to sometimes 14 hours a day without even like thinking. Managing sleep patterns, sometimes being, especially towards the end of the year, feeling exhaustion and burnout and stress and anxiety, leaning into things like alcohol more and more as a way of escaping those sort of things. And not that these days I feel like I have a problem so much with alcohol, but I lean into it as when I get exhausted and stressed and tired, I lean into it and I look to it as some sort of numbing agent or some way of providing some relief. But it's kind of a catch-22, because when I have alcohol in any way, shape or form, even a tiny bit, it ruins my sleep pattern. So it means that I can't sleep at all. And so therefore I end up taking like a half a sleeping tablet in order to get me to sleep. And then I'm waking up kind of groggy and then behind the ball again. And it's a bit of a circle, a bit of a cycle that has occurred. And it only happens, and my meditation practice sometimes slips as a result of those things as well. So, managing stress and managing burden, financial burden, responsibility, your emotional state. I'm really leaning into those things, and I've journaled a little bit recently about my 2023 and how I really want to change some things about how I'm stepping into my 2024. So I'm going to do a 100-day commitment, and in the last couple of years, I've tasked myself to do things like, stopping drinking for a whole year, which have, funny enough, been the greatest years of my life and the most effective and the most productive. Funny that. But it is a big commitment a year, and it really does take something. And so this year I'm thinking 100 days of a commitment that is going to help me to show up more powerfully, more consciously, more present, more mindfully. And as a result, I want the ripple effects of that to go wide and far, and to go into the rest of my world. So instead of picking a whole bunch of things and really overcomplicating it, I've just picked 2 things. So, and those 2 things generally, if I hit the big core things, so if I hit the things which are going to have the biggest impact, then there's a roll-on effect I feel that will happen elsewhere. Now these things might not be your things, But for me, they're the big rocks, the big pillars, the big things that really shift a lot. If I do these two things, then it pretty much fixes 80 to 90% of the other stuff. So the two things that I'm going to do 100 days on starting January the 1st is going to be 2 lots of meditation a day, 2 lots of 20 minutes of meditating, which I already do, but I've been inconsistent because I've been in a bit of burnout and had a lot of emotional change and things like that. So I really want to do that. I'm going to do that practice with real presence, and because I truly desire to, not because it's there as a crux and to just help me emotionally cope. I don't want it to be a coping mechanism anymore. I want to really lean into it and do it because I love to do it, and I know it makes me feel amazing, and I feel connected, and I show up powerfully and really consciously. And so yeah, I'm going to do that with a different intention behind it and really enjoy it and love it. And I just know the impact of that is going to be huge. So that's one thing that I'm going to do. And the other thing I'm going to do, you probably guessed already, is to just let alcohol go for a while, and not for it to be there as my automatic kind of thing that I lean into. Once again, I don't feel like I overdo it in terms of volume, but it's just that thing that it's like that automatic thing that I go to and just, like pull the tab and and then it's like, and it's like, what is that? Like that's a deep triggering, or a deep, like something in my story, something deep in me that I've got from my childhood years and things like that around this thing being somewhat of a reward. So over these next 100 days, I'm just going to release it and just let it go out of my life and just replace it with good stuff, with really good stuff. And I don't need to detail it, the whole, whatever, a dietary plan or a sports plan or whatever. I just know, hand on heart, I absolutely know that if I just do these two things, meditate 2 times a day with beautiful intention, and I take care of my vehicle by not putting a toxin like alcohol into my body, which I know has really bad ramifications, especially in regards to sleep and performance. Those 2 big rocks, change those 2 big rocks, I just know the impact will go wide and far. So I wanted to introduce this to you now before New Year's Eve. Maybe it's something that you want to do with me, or you want to, you could start at any time. If you join this group later on and you hear me talking about it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a bit of a countdown, through the days. I'm going to talk into how differently I feel. So right now, I've been Christmas drinks here, all those sort of things, very poor sleep. So, I'm really keen to document the first 100 days, and it's not going to be, I'm not going to make this a big thing. I'm just going to talk about the account of 100 days of just meditating twice a day, and to let go of what I feel is an attachment which doesn't serve me. So you might want to pick 2. You might want to do it with me. And so, yeah, I'm interested to know, like, what would be your big rocks? What are the big things for you that you feel really just don't serve you? Or what are the 2 things that you want to step into? Maybe it's more than 2. Maybe it's just 1. And that's the one thing. And maybe it's just, I'm going to get up. My brother, who's the person who introduced me, who talked to me around this from a podcast, this 100 days thing, his one thing is, I'm going to get up before 6 a.m. Just one thing. because he knows that if he gets up before 6 a.m., he's going to meditate, he's going to go to the gym, he's going to eat better. So it's quite amazing for me, those two things. So it's the refraining of alcohol in one way for me is so powerful because it allows me to sleep. The sleep has a massive effect on my mental wellness and my positivity. That then has a ripple effect into the way that I train. So my discipline and the level of training I do just goes through the roof. It's like, I wouldn't be surprised if it's 100% improvement in my performance, which leads on to that if I've trained in the morning, then I feel more organized, and it means I do all the other things in my work area, my calendars and which is all organized, which then leads on to eating better. I choose better food. I'm having protein shakes. I'm cutting back on sugar. I mean, it's so unbelievable, the ripple effect, and that's just from one. And then if I add the other one to it, if I add the meditation to it, I'm starting to reference something more powerful within as well at the same time. So I'm like, I'm doing all these great things for my body and feeling really powerfully effective and on point and energetic and positive. And at the same time, I'm leaning into that soft, feminine kind of like beautiful flow energy as well. And that's like starting to come out as well. So the two together are like powerful, like a powerful measure. So I don't need to add anything else other than those two. It's just do it. Like it's actually, because I've done this before and I've, what's the word? I've hated it. I haven't, not hated it, I resented it. I've resented doing it. And I've resented all the things that I miss out as a result, instead of loving all the things which brings towards me. And this time I'm going to do it differently. So this time I'm going to do it with love and with like just acknowledging how much great stuff it's giving me. Just going to walk into it with gratitude and grace, knowing that I am becoming the best version of myself. And at the end of the 100 days, I'm going to reflect on it and I'm going to make a decision at that time. I don't know. I'm not even going to forecast. I'm just going to live daily, mindfully, and share that experience with you. And we're going to share it much more than that. It's just something that I'm doing before New Year's Eve. Maybe you want to join me or, just witness what occurs over these 100 days. So I'm willing to share that. So if it's inspired you to do, not even 100 days, maybe it's 30 days, maybe it's 60 days, 90 days, could be the whole year, I'm not sure. But if this conversation has inspired anything with you, maybe there's one thing or two things or three things that is something that you can lean into that is going to shift something significant for you. So thank you for joining me on this first video in regards to the P2 group. And I look forward to sharing like a heap of stuff with you over this journey. So it's been a good one. Thanks very much for joining me, and I will see you soon.